Dear friends, dear Sangha, hello. Um, I just thought that I did post that I was going to be going live with a mindful eating meditation and a tea ceremony. And here I have all the conditions for happiness for our tea ceremony today. If you didn't get the message, you can go grab these things now. Some simple foods that you really like so that you can mindfully enjoy them. I have here just a sampling of the simple things that I enjoy is a satsuma and a rice cake and some chocolate and 2 cups so that we can serve each other for our tea ceremony in our kettle. So let's just begin by just having a moment of silent meditation just to focus and to get settled in this space to create the conditions for softness, for receptivity, for our wonderful, nourishing food that has lovingly come to us through many different ways. The whole cosmos has organized itself in order to deliver all of the food to us and all of the tea leaves in our tea bags or in our loose leaf tea. And we want to be open and receptive to receive the nourishment from these things. So let's start by pausing for a moment and coming back to ourselves with the sound of the bell. So I'd like to begin our mindful eating meditation um, by talking a little bit about mindful eating. So one of the things that we do when we eat is we have the tendency in this fast-paced world to eat while thinking about other things. We sit when we eat, and maybe we're sitting with our family and we're waiting for them to come sit with us to eat the meal. And one thing that Thich Nhat Hanh says is that why wait? Why are we calling it waiting when we're sitting there waiting for our family to come to the table? Why can't we already start enjoying our food by thinking about all the conditions that has had to happen in order for our food to come to us? All of the farmers, all of the workers that have harvested, if we're eating bread, harvested all the wheat that has come from the earth, all of the beautiful sunshine and the rain that has lent itself to the wheat for it to grow. For our family members, for cooking and preparing the food for us to bring to the table with love. So what he says is we can change our mindset from waiting to joy and enjoying our food even before we eat it. So that's what I wanted to bring to this meditation today for mindful eating. That we don't eat our anxiety. We don't eat our worry. We don't eat the meetings that we have to do tomorrow. We don't have to eat the argument that we had with our family member that day. We can choose to eat our food and only eat our food. We can choose to savor the food that we place into our mouths. We can be mindful about the amount of food that we eat. There was a study in the book called Savor that Lillian Chung and Thich Nhat Hanh co-wrote together. And they had large buckets of containers to put their popcorn in, that people that had the larger buckets, they didn't remember that they ate the whole thing. They were watching the movie and they were being perhaps not mindful about the quantity that they were eating. Sometimes that can happen to us when we're sitting at the dinner table. We are thinking about so many other things that we don't even remember what our food tasted like. And we can fall into those spaces of perhaps not being mindful. So we want to come to that space today. So I'd like to invite you. We are going to take a bite of our first food. And before we do, we just want to contemplate all of the things that needed to happen in order for this food to come to us. There's something in Thich Nhat Hanh's tradition called the 5 contemplations. And these contemplations really invite us to look deeply into the sources of our food and where our food is coming from. So I'd like to read those now. This food is the gift of the whole universe, the earth, the sky, numerous living beings, and much hard and loving work. May we eat and live in mindfulness and gratitude so as to be worthy to receive this food. May we recognize and transform unwholesome mental formations, especially our greed, and learn to eat with moderation. May we keep our compassion alive by eating in such a way that reduces the suffering of living beings, stops contributing to climate change, and heals and preserves our precious planet. Accept this food in order to our brotherhood and sisterhood, build our Sangha, and nourish our ideal of serving living beings. So let us enjoy every morsel of our food, and also the presence of each other right now. Even though we're virtually here together, we're still here together. So let's enjoy this wonderful time that we have together, to eat, to savor, to feel joy, to feel all of our 5 senses when we're eating. There's some short phrases that Thich Nhat Hanh has taught us when we want to be more mindful in our life. There's these short phrases called gathas, Gathas, that we can think of when we would like to look a little bit more deeply into the things that we're doing in our daily lives. One of which is looking at our plate of food before we eat it. This is a gatha about that. So I'd like to invite you to look at your plate of food right now, or your item of food that you've brought here, and just contemplate this gatha. And be mindful of your breathing while you're listening, okay? Looking at the plate of food before eating. Beings all over the earth are struggling to live. I aspire to practice deeply so that all may have enough to eat. So I'd like to invite you to pick one food that you have on your plate. I'm going to choose my Satsuma orange. And I would like you to honor your food in whatever way that you feel is important to you. And that might just be with some silence, taking a moment to consider how this food came to be in your hand, and just slow down and take a moment to be with the food that is in your hand and about to enter your mouth and nourish your body. What if we were to look at our food with the same love that we look to our family, to our beloveds with? Next, we would like to engage our senses. So let's try to smell the food. What are the smells that you're smelling? I think that my orange has ripened because it smells very sweet. And I can smell the pith of the white part of this orange. It has a different smell than the juicy part. Next, we would like to feel the texture. Half of my orange has juice coming out of it, so it feels wet. And half of my orange has a slight film over all of the cells of the orange. So there's a lot of different textures. There's also the white part that feels very different than the other part of it. Next, we would like to experience the taste of our food. So let's just take a small bite and hold it on our tongue and just savor that bite in our mouths, on our tongues. And just keeping that bite in your mouth, allowing all the flavors to come in. Maybe we're getting some saliva in our mouth, which is going to help with digestion. Our body is so amazing that when it starts to sense that there's some food entering the body, it will get ready for the eating that's going to happen. Maybe the texture in our mouth is squishy. Maybe it's smooth. There's another gatha for the first mouthful. With the first mouthful, I practice the love that brings joy. With the second mouthful, I practice the love that relieves suffering. With the third mouthful, I practice the joy of being alive. Let's take our third mouthful. And with the fourth mouthful, I practice equal love for all beings. Let's take our fourth mouthful. Another thing that Thich Nhat Hanh has mentioned is that a way that we can be mindful when we're eating is to slow down, to chew our food many, many times so that the saliva and all of the digestion that's going to happen and the saliva that helps digestion happen can be a simplified process. So if we're chewing our food many times, it helps our body to create the saliva to break the food down. It helps our body to break the food down once it comes into our stomach in a faster way and to be metabolized and turned into energy more quickly, easily. Another thing that he mentions is to place a fork or spoon after each bite. And that might sound like it's going to be a tedious practice, but it's something that is practiced so that we're not preparing our next mouthful once we already have something in our mouths. It's a way to really savor what is truly being put in our mouths in the moment. So let's try that. I'm going to with a piece of my rice cake. And I'm taking a look at it. I'm noticing that there has been so many conditions that have had to align in order to come to us, for this food to come to me. The rice fields have had to been planted by seed, and the seeds are growing with the help of the sun, the earth, the insects, the earthworms, the rain, the farmer, and that harvest of the rice. So many conditions have had to happen in order for this rice cake to come to me. I'm going to take a bite of my rice cake and then I'm going to place it down while I fully savor this bite. How was that for you? I hope that was very enjoyable. So let's take a moment and listen to a sound of the bell, and we'll start our tea ceremony. I'd like to read a poem by Thich Nhat Hanh called The Tea Ceremony that was written in 2012. the tea ceremony. You must be completely awake in the present to enjoy the tea. Only in the awareness of the present can your hands feel the pleasant warmth of the cup. Only in the present can you savor the aroma, taste the sweetness, appreciate the delicacy. If you are ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, you will completely miss the experience of enjoying the cup of tea. You will look down at the cup and the tea will be gone. Life is like that. If you are not fully present, you will look around and it will be all gone. You have missed the feel, the delicacy, the beauty of life. It will seem to be speeding past you. The past is finished. Learn from it and let it go. The future is not even here yet. Plan for it, but do not waste your time worrying about it. Worrying is worthless. When you stop ruminating about what has already happened, when you stop worrying about what might never happen, then you will be in the present moment. Then you will begin to experience joy. So with our tea ceremony, let's serve one another. That is why I requested that you bring a second cup. I placed the cup next to the computer here so that I can virtually serve you your tea so that we may enjoy our tea together. And how this works is usually in a tea ceremony when we're in a circle, we bow to our neighbor, we pick up our kettle, and that we serve the tea to our neighbor. And then we place the kettle down and we bow to our neighbor again. And as the circle comes around, we will be served. We will serve our neighbor and we will be served by our neighbor. And so I am going to serve you, and then I am also going to imagine that you are serving me, and I'm going to pour the tea for you. I hope that's okay. So let's begin. I can already start to enjoy the tea now that I'm serving you. Just hearing the sound. And now I'm going to imagine that you're serving me. So let's pick up our teacup and hold our teacup. We can feel the warmth of the tea through our teacup. And can we allow this warmth to come into our bodies and to soften our bodies and to allow gentleness to come to our bodies, all inspired by the warmth of this tea? Thich Nhat Hanh likes to say that there are clouds in our teacup, and it is something that is said in order to remind us that everything is connected. a word that Thich Nhat Hanh uses is interbeing. We inter-are. We are all existing together. We're interrelated. And why he says this is that the water in our teacups was once water that came from the rain and came from the clouds. And so, just by the nature of that fact, there are also clouds in our teacup because the water is from the clouds, and the clouds are all a part of the cosmos, all the conditions that had to happen in order for our tea to be in our cup, in our hands, creating warmth, and the warmth is flowing into our bodies. So I'd like you to take a smell or sniff the aroma of your tea. I made some jasmine green tea. I made sure to choose an extra wonderfully smelling tea for our tea ceremony today, and I'm excited to be with you today. So I lovingly prepared all of my conditions here, my food and my tea, because I knew we were going to be together. So I'm smelling my tea, and I'm smelling the jasmine flowers, the green tea leaves, and just really savoring this smell of my tea. So I'd like you to invite you to take a sip of your tea and hold it in your mouth for a second and just experience what that experience feels and tastes like. And now there's a cloud in our belly, guys. Just drinking with the awareness that this tea is more than just tea. Well, friends, dear Sangha, dear Thai, I'd like to say thank you for joining me today for mindfully eating and mindfully drinking, and also for our tea ceremony where we got to spend time together and serve one another some delicious tea and some delicious food. And I'd like to invite you to continue to enjoy your food and your tea mindfully, whether you're with someone in your space or you're not. You can remember the lingering feeling of connection from this video. If there isn't anyone with you in your living room or wherever you're seeing this video, and you can just feel that I am there, and all of the people that are watching this right now are also there with you, mindfully eating and mindfully drinking, and that they have served you tea and that you have served them tea. So thank you, friends, and we'll end with the sound of the bell.